Today's guest started his career quite literally on the shop floor, living and breathing it whilst at retail outfit Comet, moving up through the ranks to regional operations manager after heading the opening of a flagship store in the company's hometown. From there, he has seen divisional director roles with huge operators including Maplin, Wicks and B&M before moving sector to head the north for the UK's largest commercial gym chain, PureGym. His mantra is to put people first on the way to creating highly engaged and high-performing teams, and has a passion for supporting and helping others grow. As part of that engagement, he has raised more than £1.3 million for charity through events such as the Tour de Wicks and PureGym National Relay. A huge Man United fan, dog lover and a massively charismatic leader, we give you Mr. Rich Clayton. How are we?
Wow. Yeah, all good. Thank you, lads. What an opening that is. So
it's decent, isn't it?
Feel very humbled by that, Dan.
Great opening. Some really good stuff in there. I think we've said it a few times now with some of the guests that we've had on. It's nice to have a bit of time just to sit down and talk through that sort of stuff, because in the day-to-day and the busyness of what work entails and the roles that you've got and everything else, you don't very often get a chance to just have a chat and, like you said the other day, chew the fat and delve into the depths of other people. So, no, it was nice to hear all of that stuff and read through it. I hadn't realised you'd been around for as long as you have as well. When you mentioned 30 years, you don't look that old, mate.
Mate, that's really kind. I was 48 last Friday, mate. Birthday in lockdown. So
how was that?
Do you know what, mate? It was really good. I think we've all had to adapt. This horrible virus that we've got to live with right now affects everybody, and I think it's the mindset that you choose. You know, you got to think about the time that you've got, think about how you use it. I always say to the guys when I chat with them, you know, stay positive and be productive. You know, and that's what we did on my birthday. We were really positive and we were productive. And do you know what? It genuinely was the best birthday I'd had for years. And we didn't even stray. We went onto the street. The neighbours came out, social distanced, did a little party. We all stayed 2 or 3 meters apart, had a couple of beers together. It was great, you know. And I think that's like everything, Dan. I think it's what you make of it. You can sit, wallow and go, do you know what? I feel like a bit of a victim here. What's happening to me? Or you can grab the ball by the horns and go, actually, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
I'm having a midday.
I think sometimes as well, like, well, I do anyway, I overcomplicate things. So when it comes to my birthday, I'm like, right, we need to go away. We need to do this, we need to do that. Whereas just being at home and just enjoying being at home and chilling out, it gives a massive recharge.
Do you know what? And you fellas will have noticed this as well. Look, we've all learned loads during lockdown. I'm sure we'll cover some of it during the call, but we've all learned to appreciate stuff around us. I'm pretty sure we've all been racing back and forward to B&Q and click and collecting and buying things from Wicks and DIYing, because actually we've learned to appreciate our family and our houses. We spend a lot of time at work. Often when we get back to the houses, we're tired and we're relaxing. We don't really appreciate what's around us. And actually, look, I don't think this virus is a good thing. I clearly don't think it's a good thing. But like I said earlier, you've got to take the best away from it. And that's what we've done. We've started to enjoy our environment and spend a bit more time in it and gone, actually, you spend a lot of your money on your house, your mortgage, your bills and all that. Actually, this has pushed us to enjoy it a bit more. This is why we had the birthday. It was the best one. We just did everything that we wanted to do, but around the house, it was great.
It's almost like a bit of a pause, isn't it, in life, just so you can actually have that time to reflect and think, like we said it already, just spending time with loved ones and getting stuff done that you want to do, and even having the time, I suppose, to just do some of the things that you want to do off your own back, however that looks for each individual person. It's mad.
Dan, it's massive. One of the things I learned this a long time ago, and it's a phrase called pull the handbrake on. And look, we all live in fast times. I mean, I'm very enthusiastic, passionate, I'm very driven. I sometimes, at my own detriment, try to do things quite quickly. Paul and I, who work together at PureGym, as you know, are a really good balance. Paul's a bit more considered, whereas I'm, let's get it done, let's get it. So we are a good match. But I think sometimes you have to pull the handbrake on and stop and actually look at what's around you, not just from a work point of view, but actually from a personal and a family point of view. And of course, this awful situation we find ourselves in is being forced upon us. We're being told to do things, but actually we're learning how to adapt to that. Yeah. and we're pausing and reflecting. And honestly, I reckon you can put anybody on any of these kind of calls and they would give you so many learnings out of the last 3 months that will make them better people. It's just crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
Yeah, I think that's quite an exciting thing as well, to see how people are going to come out the other side of that. And there's obviously going to be different layers. Some people might have really, really struggled through that time if they've lived alone or whatever it might be. But I think it's going to be interesting and exciting in some aspects to see how people do come out the other side, and how they, if they have got any learnings, go and apply that. I think that would be good to see.
Oh, massive. Look, I think that again, you know, we'll probably say it 3 or 4 times. This disease is horrible, and it's affected people sadly in a bad way. I mean, my father, he's at risk, and he's been in hospital twice. He's had 2 COVID-19 tests. He's had a cancer scare while I've been on lockdown. He's had an emergency treatment. It's been a bit of a nightmare. I'm actually going to, you know, try and see him shortly. So we've got all these things coming at us. But the reality is, Dan, is that we've all got to adapt now. So I don't think it's about. I keep hearing this, what's the new norm? What's the new norm? Well, we're not going to get the old norm back, but actually it's more about adaptability.
Yeah.
So I think that as you go through life, you adapt anyway. You have to adapt to different situations, whether that be on the spot and reactive or proactive adaptability. Right now, we've got a situation that changes our lives. We have to go and queue to go shopping at any of the supermarkets. We have to go and queue to buy a tin of paint. You know, when we reopen our gyms safely, there'll be a different way of working for all of us. You know, the way we've communicated, I mean, you know, that's completely changed. So I think adaptability is one of the things that is really important, because our way of life is going to change. And I think it will affect people differently. But actually, if you've got that positive outlook, like I mentioned earlier, hopefully we come out of it the better, you know?
Yeah, 100%. So that said, adaptability seems to be something that is massively on your pad, which I know is one of your phrases, and everyone seems to be nicking at the moment. But I think it'll be good to hear some of those learnings and stuff that you've made as you've gone through your career. We mentioned in the intro that it was very much a case of starting on the shop floor, living and breathing it, and seeing what everyone has to do on the day-to-day, all the way up to the position you're in now as a divisional director. No doubt there's been lots of lessons and learnings along that way. So it'd be good to hear you talk on those for us, if you could.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things is like background. So I was born in a place called Arnold in Nottingham. Just a basic, you know, 2 up, 2 down, 3 up house, terraced house. Went to Red Hill Comprehensive. Was a real people person. I was very sporty at school, so I always liked sport. I played for loads of teams. I was quite lucky because that was something I was really keen on. So football, tennis, I played hockey, played everything really. I was really sporty, which was great. I wasn't so good in the other sides of it. I got low attention span, and you know, back then the way things were being taught was a bit different, maybe, and sometimes it takes a bit more time to adapt. So I think it was always quite clear that I had a fair bit of common sense, and I was a bit streetwise, always liked to see what was going off. I mean, I was selling mobile phones at the age of 14, you know, to family and friends, all that kind of stuff, because mobile phones were just getting going then. So I picked that up. But I was always really keen to get out and about in the big wide world. Look, my mum, you know, worked in factories, etc., and did work from home. My dad worked in a bacon and ham warehouse as a supervisor for like 40 years of his life. So, you know, we're just normal people, if you like. And I think that's quite an important phrase. Look, you guys have known me for the last couple of years, and generally I think the way I am now is probably the way I've been for a long period of my life, because I think being authentic and being you is really important. I think you have to adapt a bit, so as you go into a boardroom, you've got to think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I think what was always clear for me is I wanted to get out and about into the big wide world, and I ended up working for Debenhams. I got a YTS at $29.50 a week, and I ended up getting put on the window dressing team, which was great. So I really enjoyed it, and I did a window dressing for the Comet in Debenhams. And I ended up talking to a couple of customers, and I started to sell them a TV because they were looking at a TV and nobody was about. And the manager, Eddie, his name was Eddie, came over and says, you know, what do you think you're doing? And I said, well, nobody's about, and they want to buy a telly, and nobody's talking to him. So I think it was a Toshiba. He offered me a job within 5 minutes. a job, and that was it. So I ended up at Comet. I was there for 20 years. I met my wife of now, Jess, at Comet. So I ended up at Comet, and I think one of the things I just really enjoyed being with and talking to people. So I enjoyed the environment. You know what I mean? It's a bit like, you know, you guys that have been personal trainers. You just feel at home on the gym floor. I felt at home on the sales floor. I obviously wanted to win. I am very, very driven. And I think as you get older and wiser and make mistakes and learn, you learn how to win differently. So I probably am still as driven today as I was when I was 17, but I'm driven in a different way, because when you're 17 and 18 and you've got no fear, and quite frankly, sometimes you haven't got a brain that functions properly. You just want to win it, and sometimes it's at all costs.
Sorry, mate. Did selling come natural to you?
Yeah, it did.
How did you know? Like, how did you find out that you was really good at that? What was it from the mobile phone, selling the mobile phones when you was younger, or when was the first moment that you thought, you know what, I'm pretty good at this?
Yeah, I think you know, your teachers try and shape you when you're younger, don't they? They always go, you know, he wants to be the personality in the class, and he can't do that, and they tell you what you can and can't do, don't they? Really, back in the day. And I think I always knew that I was good with people. I think I was just quite lucky that was something that I was just quite good at. Other things I'm not so good at, low attention span being one of them. But that, yeah, and I think the mobile phone thing was a bit of a tipping point, because I was always looking to make a bit of money. You know, when you're 14 or 15, you know, you're looking to make a bit of money. But I think it's because I was probably quite materialistic, Martin, where I wanted some nice stuff. So back then it was all, you know, people were bringing Fila and Lacoste over from Spain, and I wanted a little bit of that. And that's it. So I think you're probably driven by materialistic things early on. I think that always stays with you because you want to live in a nice house, but probably other things become more important. So I think yeah, probably quite early. I just felt really at home selling, and to be honest, I was quite good at it. You know, I as individually, I won quite a few awards. I ended up winning weekends away and prizes. I actually won a trip to Florida by selling sky dishes in my early 20s, which was crazy. It was like selling dishes and get a trip to Florida, crazy. So yeah, honestly, I was doing, but that was when. So that was early 90s when I used to travel around. So I used to follow Man United around Europe. I used to go to a number of clubs. So probably a bit before your time. So I was I used to go to Shelley's, Stoke-on-Trent, Eclipse in Coventry, Amnesia's, places like that. And then obviously Ibiza came on the horizon as well. So I think it quite suited me, Martin, where I was in an environment where I got a good job, I was making good money, I enjoyed what I did, and I was pretty good at it. And I think it was also, at that age, you've not got a lot of responsibility. So I was living at home, then I moved out, I made a little place. So it was all good. And because my performance was good in the business I was working in, you get a bit comfortable. But a guy who recognised that, who's one of my mates now, he's been a bit of a mentor for me throughout. A guy called Chris. He was my regional manager at the time. Now, going back 25 years ago, your regional managers would sit in the office and smoke cigars and all that. And I can think of a lot of names now that I'll keep in my head. Some that I learned from, others that I learned from, but in a different way. But Chris was a real tipping point for me in my career, because when I look back at me in the early 20s, I probably could have gone on continuing to sell, because to your question there, look, you never want to say, I know I'm good at selling, but if you can hold a job down and your performance is strong and you're getting recognised by your peers and your business, then you're doing something right. And also, I think there was a lot of training back in the day that I didn't adapt to well, because a lot of it was to tell you how to sell to people wrongly, which I definitely didn't agree with. And that's caused me a problem through certain aspects of my career, because I won't do things that I don't agree with. I'm quite stubborn like that. And not because I just fold my arms and go, I'm not doing it. If I don't think it's right, I get a little bit so when selling warranties and credit back in the day, I'd only want to talk to customers about that if it was the right thing for them and it's the right kind of questions that you'd ask. But I remember a conversation with Chris, and that was, I guess, the tipping point for me to move out of sales and start to accelerate through the ranks. Because I think it went something like, Rich, you're wasted selling. I think you can do so much more. It's probably about time that you thought about what that looks like. And I guess, like everybody, when you're early 20s, coming into mid-20s, look, unless you've met somebody and settled down and got a little one, you probably haven't really got a plan.
Yeah.
I don't think I had a plan at that point. But yeah, I started to move through the ranks. So I started to move around sales supervisor, sales managers, etc., etc. I took over a couple of shops. Again, still working with Chris, who's been a big influence on my career. I think the reason why he's been a big influence is, A, we're quite like-minded. He tells it how it is. He's quite direct, but I think it's a well-meaning direct. And one of the things I've had to keep an eye on in my career is sometimes I can be quite direct. And you can be quite intimidating to people sometimes. You don't actually mean to be, because passion comes out of you and stuff like that. So I learned a lot from Chris about how to control that a little bit and get my point across a bit better. But I also learned from him that actually anything's possible. So if you really are focused and driven and you listen, and that's really important, listen to people and start seeking answers for stuff, you can go further. So he took a risk on me as well, Dan, which I think is something that I've learned. That's a big lesson for me.
How did you find moving? So obviously you said there that sales was almost your bag. You were really, really good at that, really passionate about it, really successful in that. Transferring that skill set into management, or almost handing that on to people that were reporting into you. How did you find that? Because that can, I think what you said there is your personality it came quite naturally to you, and although you disagreed with some of the courses and the stuff that were put on for some of the guys, it was very natural to you and it was successful. And have you come across people where it maybe wasn't so natural, and then you've had to give them learnings, and then, like I say, moving your skill set into management? How did you find that? Yeah,
I think like you almost go through phases in your career. I think you get into that phase, and obviously your responsibility changes for a start because you're a manager, you're a leader, so there's a bit more accountability. When you're on your own in that's your role, you're accountable for you. Of course, your behaviour matters, but I think moving into that role, that was really exciting. It was hard to leave that shop floor environment because the interaction with customers every day was a big part of the role, because I enjoyed meeting people and talking to people. But actually, your focus just changes to helping your team do the same thing. There's a bit of leading by example, because I don't think I've ever done a role where you've not had to get stuck in. I've always made a point of that. So, when I was at Wix, as an example, I would always wear the same uniform. I didn't wander around in shirts and ties. You got to get stuck in and help bring the delivery in and do X, Y, and Z. And I think that was the same at Comet as an example, really. But I think it's just about understanding people. And I think that's probably where the excitement and the next thrill came around helping people grow, unlocking their talent, finding out a bit about them, what is it they want to achieve, etc., etc. And I really enjoyed it, Dan, if I'm honest. I really enjoyed it. I wanted more.
So it was that, I think the consistency there is between the people element, isn't it? It's that whole interaction of it and getting people to, rather than buzz off buying a brand new TV or whatever it is that you were selling at the time, it's getting them to buzz off progressing and moving forwards and driving themselves forwards.
Massively. And I think as well I like a real challenge. And we've all had this through our lives. This will happen to me this year or next year again, is where I think probably not so much in the business that I'm in now. We've got a great culture, and that's down to people that founded the business. And, we try our best to keep that going because we're really looking to be a part of it. But I think I used to like a bit of a challenge. People used to get written off. She's not good, or he's rubbish. You'd never get them sorted out. And I'd go, oh, yes. Yeah. So I actually got more excited probably with hitting sales targets and creating engagement. So I could have sent you loads of stats through around this engagement that this team won, that team won. That was more exciting for me. That was more exciting. I used to say when I used to go into a business, I used to look at two things. I used to say, show me your engagement scorecard and show me what your customers are telling you. Don't show me the profit and loss account just yet, because showing me that first doesn't help me. What helps me is to understand how engaged your team is and what your customers are telling you. Those two drive that output. So I just wanted more of it, and that's why I ended up running bigger shops and going. I remember. So I was living in Nottingham. I was travelling to Peterborough. Then I ended up in Lincoln. I ended up in then Hull. So I got offered the. So I obviously did well running the shops. Chris was still my regional manager and mentor, and it was about the time that the destination store format was coming into the UK through Kingfisher and etc. You may have heard of Best Buy from America coming over, and these big sheds, 20 million quid, 100, all that kind of stuff. You big sheds coming across. So I got the opportunity to get interviewed to open the first one in Hull, which I obviously snapped at. So I had two directors coming to see me, and so I ended up moving to Hull to run a shop prior to us closing down the 3 Hull stores and opening up these 2, Hull Kingswood and Hull St Andrews Quay. And I think that was driven, Dan, by that scenario again, is that I don't think you really outgrow a role, but if you're managing a business that takes 3 million quid a year with 20 colleagues and it's successful and you've helped people grow and all the other kind of stuff, it's natural that you want more, isn't it? If you're a personal trainer and you're managing 5 clients amazingly well each week and you've got them nailed, then you want to move to 10, 15 and all that kind of stuff. It's, if you're managing a gym, 2,000 members and you nail it, you want to go on. It's that same kind of thing. So I just wanted more, and it was exciting that it was a new format to the UK. So I obviously wanted to be a part of it as well. So, and it was that challenge thing, Dan, that I mentioned earlier.
I think that, well, some of the big things there from transferring the businesses that you were in before into the settings that we're in now, especially gym floor, that challenge of taking over a PT team, say, where you're walking in there and people are saying they're this, they're that, they're not engaged. I know Martin's been in exactly the same position. You do genuinely buzz off getting in there, getting amongst it, helping them, supporting them, guiding them, putting your arms around them or whatever it is that they need, and turning that team round then to get all of those results. There isn't a better feeling, I don't think. And that's definitely something that you've clearly transferred from a people side from your other sectors into where we are now.
Yeah, massive. And I think one of the things of success is that, look, this is all about the team that you've got around you. That is the reality of it. You can be the best striker on the planet. If you haven't got that team around you, you haven't got that service, or your goalkeeper's letting, then you're not the best striker on the planet, because from a team point of view, it's not going to work. So again, as you start moving through your career, particularly when you get to scale leadership, scale management, and then scale leadership, that's great. You've just got more accountability. You all do the same job. You're all going for the same objective, and then you've got the same vision. You share the same culture, all that kind of stuff. But you've got to get the right people around you first of all, and you've got to empower them. So I remember the exciting thing back in the 2 Hull days, the Kingswood and the Hull St Andrews Quay. We were trialing out all these new roles. So I had like 6 managers and all. It was amazing. But what it gave you was an opportunity to surround yourself with the best people to ensure success. Because really the only way that you'll get success is having the right people around you that are really clear about what you're trying to achieve, why, how, and you've got check-in. You won't succeed unless you've got that, unless you're really lucky and you've had a bit of a fluke, or there's a bit of a supply and demand scenario we're in now. But, ultimately in business, it's about getting the right people around you. And I remember that was a really exciting time for me, because I actually probably spent longer in the St Andrews Quay shop than I should have done, because I turned down regional manager role twice while I was in there, because I really loved the 4 walls, and I had a team of like 100 colleagues. They were getting promoted and they were going out onto comment, and it was dead exciting. I was just loving it, honestly. But it's back to that challenge and getting the people around you again and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
How would you say because
getting the right people around you is clearly paramount, isn't it? And experts in different areas that maybe complement your skill set. How would you say, for those listening that are either have their own business start up or are looking to get into a similar sort of role to you, how would you say you go about finding the right sort of people? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, look, I've never had my own business, so anybody that embarks on that, I admire them. Absolutely. I think starting a business is really exciting, but of course you've got a lot more challenges. I think there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, you need to understand what is it you're doing and why. So what's the benefit to people? So what is it you're trying to achieve? Of course, you're trying to make profit, but what is it you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to inspire a healthier nation? What's your point of difference kind of thing? I think then you've almost got to understand your market, your target audience. And sometimes that can reflect the kind of people that you're looking for. You need to understand what people actually want. So whatever the business is that you're looking to set up, understanding, your market, understanding what customers want and what they get, understanding competition is really important. So if I'm setting up a business where there's hundreds of them already, they're successful and they're not, why are they successful? My guess would be that it will probably be driven by people.
Yeah.
It might not be a mixture of 10 amazingly talented people. It might be a mixture of 10 talented people that work as a real dynamic. So again, what I've tried to do through my career is that there are things that you learn that, do you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this. I'm okay. Nobody wants to say, look, I'm quite good at this. But actually, you've got to sort of like sometimes in business, you've got to be quite direct with yourself and go, look, I know how to do this. I'm not the finished article. I still need to learn, but I've got that nailed. I'm not so sure here. I need to find an expert. And it's a bit like, when I look at the teams that I've been lucky enough to work with and help build, whether it be at PureGym or other businesses, we've got a real dynamic in the team now. And that's been deliberate. That's not been, that's quite lucky. That's been deliberate because you need people that have got different skill sets that can add a different value and opinion. So I do think if you want to be successful in business, if it helps anybody out there, I think you've got to understand your why, because people that you are involving in that need to understand why you're doing what you're doing. What is it you're trying to achieve? You've got to have a very clear business plan, as you guys will know exactly from your background. You've got to be really clear about what is it you're trying to do. And I think getting the right people around you that are single-minded and driven, and that cohesion, that collaboration, working together is really helpful. It's hard to get a team of people together and they all work together straight away, isn't it? It's quite hard to do. But yeah, I think, look, I look at the PT scenario now, and I think those that had a really strong online presence coming into lockdown, I mean, hopefully they've all done amazingly well, but my average view is people that have got a real strong online presence and are able to flip a bit quicker may have just been a bit more successful. And I think the point that I'm trying to make there is that, don't just be, right, that's my business model that way, branch out a bit more. So think about all the channels that are available for you to market, promote, etc., etc. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's something we speak about quite a lot with the PTs, as in, yes, you've got a personal training business, but there's opportunity within that to create many different revenue streams that come under that bracket. And like you said, they're being able to, it's the phrase of the moment, isn't it? Pivot your business, but being able to pivot and go in those different directions and almost not negate challenges, because you're never going to, like, some things will come up as they have now that you're never going to be able to account for. But at least then you've got a way of maybe putting more eggs in that basket at this current time so that you can still bring your monies in from there.
Oh, massively. And look, when I came into PureGym, like, I've been going to gyms since I was 16 years old. I've got weights in my garage that genuinely are 25 years old that have moved houses more times or with me. It's crazy. I've had personal trainers all the way along. I don't profess to know the inside and out of a personal trainer. I've never run a gym in my life. everybody knows that. When I came into this business, the biggest thing I did was listen, learn, ask a load of questions. And you take really small baby steps. You know, business is business at the end of the day. So whether you're a personal trainer or selling mobile phones or selling fruit and veg, you need to have a bit of a plan. And that's what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 months, where people have been forced to have a different kind of plan, really. I think, you know, to your point there, for people that are starting up or people that are cracking on, I go back to that adaptability. You know, don't be afraid to adapt and change your plan if it ain't working. That's not bad planning. That's just reacting to situations that are out of your control, to understand what's been happening and why, and then understanding people's mindsets and outlook on life, because everybody's different. That's one lesson that you learn, I think, through life. Everybody's different. The way that I may say something to you, Dan, Martin might interpret it a little bit different. So I think that, you know, certainly when you go into different surroundings, there is a bit around understanding, listening and learning, because you haven't got all the answers when you go into a new business. You're trying to find your way around, and your job is to help move things on. So I do think that, you know, particularly in this changing world now, not just because of COVID-19, I think anyway in business, you have to be a bit like fleet of foot, if you like. You have to be prepared to listen and try something new. I used to use a phrase a few years ago calling stealing with pride. You know, don't be afraid to look at somebody else and go, do you know what? They've smashed it.
Yeah.
I can use a bit of that. What's wrong with that? You all the ideas yourself, even with a great team, you're still going to find ideas. And I look at other businesses all the time. I've always done that. So whether it be in retail, I'd look at different parts. Now I'm in leisure and fitness. I still look at retail weekly, just to figure out if there's anything that I think, hang on a minute, how would that work and stuff like that as well. So
yeah, that's something you've spoken about on a previous podcast as well with PTs. I think in fitness, sometimes we are very, very guilty of not looking at other industries, and we look very inwardly and almost rely on each other and other PTs or other fitness professionals that maybe haven't got or they've not got a different eye, or they've not seen the world from a different view, or like yourself from a retail background, you're bringing a completely different set of eyes to the same problem then, which is going to get solutions that maybe we never would have possibly thought of, because you have looked at the world differently.
Oh, massive. And I think that I think you learn lessons in life everywhere you go. I think you learn them as you watch people queue up for supermarket groceries. You learn how they react, and then how they react inside. I think you learn from every business. And I've been quite fortunate because I'm a bit older and I've been around a bit and made the mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But I do think you do learn. And, you know, I've probably opened 200 or 300 shops in my career, promoted hundreds of people, been really fortunate to have work. So, you know, you learn those lessons as you go. You learn what didn't go quite well. You learn what did go well. And you also learn that you look at other people. You learn who's winning and why. And you actually learn who's not winning and why. And I think if you do that, and it's back to that pulling that handbrake on, whether you're running a business as one person or 100, I think that, you know, having that openness to go, I haven't got all the answers, but here's what I'm trying to achieve, who actually is achieving it and how and why, and moving sectors is really important. And I think it's not just about retail or hospitality or leisure, it's other industries as well. You know, leadership and management can be applied to any business. Looking after your colleagues, looking after your customers, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. That's important things that will help you drive profit.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's probably a good one for us to touch on, how, for want of a better word, seamlessly it seems that you've moved from retail into fitness, because they are, although there's similarities in terms of, like, you'd almost say shop floor, gym floor, being engaged and interacting with members or customers as it would have been before. How have you found that and that transition? I know you speak quite a lot about people and putting those people first. Is that the underlying factor? Is there anything else that you think has triggered you a little bit? No,
I do think you have to have a passion for fitness. I don't think you have to be the epitome of fitness to work in fitness. I I do think you have to have a passion for fitness. And what I mean by that, I think that you have to enjoy what you do. So if you work in a DIY shop, you know, you probably enjoy DIY. Some people make it because it's the job for them right now, but you'll like what you do 9 times out of 10. I've always had a passion for fitness, and when this opportunity came up, it was a difficult one to not pursue, because I've probably been a member of every gym, apart from PureGym, the gym group, because they're not in where I live, but I've been a member of every other gym. So I know how gyms work. I've been a member, and I think I know what I like and don't like. I've got friends that are personal trainers. I've helped 2 or 3 build a business. So I've learned from them and they've learned. And I think that, you know, you've got to have a passion for what you are trying to achieve. I love the fact that, as an example, our business that we're in, lucky to be in right now, has got a really clear goal and vision to inspire a healthier nation. And that genuinely excites me. We are a business. We have to make profit. We've got shareholders, all that kind of stuff. That's the business side of it. But, you know, and I remember when we embarked on the relay, which cost PureGym a lot of money. We didn't do that to make any money or drive membership or joiners or leavers. We did that because we wanted to continue to inspire a healthier nation. And that wasn't just about, you know, looking good in the mirror. It was about what was up there as well, because we absolutely get the link. And I am really passionate about that for a number of reasons. So I think it helps that you go, oh God, feel quite lucky to have it. Well, feel very lucky to have this role, very lucky, because you've got a passion for that industry and business. And it's exciting, Dan, as well, because I came into PureGym needing to ask loads of questions and learn loads. And you're at your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think we all know is that you only really do grow when you feel uncomfortable and you're out your comfort zone. If you're dead comfy and everything's okay, good luck, well done. But my guess would be you're probably not growing to the extent that you could.
Yeah, I think that's when like you start to seek to understand at that point, don't you? Because you are out of your comfort zone, and you do need help from other people. You do start then it starts to open you up a little bit better to then start to seek and ask questions about people. The vision of the company that you was going into, PureGym, did that help because of what their vision was?
Yeah, it did. I worked with Rebecca at Wix. So while I was at Wix, I ran all the trading, implementation, profit protection, and worked directly for Rebecca for the latter half of my career in Wix. So Rebecca's a great boss and a great leader for me, which is great. I was given an opportunity to go and work for B&M, which is a great business. Really enjoyed my time there. But when I got the opportunity, I was sad to leave B&M. There's some great people there. It's a fantastic business, and I learned loads. But the draw of working for a business that genuinely I felt at that time, when I met Humphrey and chatted to Rebecca, did put people's health at the forefront of it. I mean members and colleagues. That excites me. So I'm a big culture believer. The culture that was already in the business prior to me joining was very strong, fantastic. We've said that before. So going into that, that's just quite an exciting environment. So yeah,
would you say,
a big part, Martin.
Would you say that helped almost coming in with not an idea of how things were running and really just wanting to understand completely everything? Would you say that helped because you literally were then just chasing and saying, right, I want to learn more, I want to learn more, I want to learn more? Yeah,
I think when you come into a business, you come in very open-minded and almost got a clean sheet of paper anyway. And one of the most important things is you just need to understand the culture of the business, the people, what is it they're trying to achieve, why, how. And then I think then you move, when you sort of like get that and go, right, get the vision, get the culture, then you sort of like go, right, okay, who do I need to collaborate with? Who do I need to help me do what I need to do? So as the Divisional Director for the North, that's what I'm accountable for. Who can help me do that because my job is to help my regional managers and my team. And I think that's quite an exciting part of it as well, because you're then having to work with colleagues in marketing and different areas, the way that they market a fitness operator rather than a retailer. So it's really exciting because you've got experiences from previous retailers and stuff like that. And in some cases, you know, the framework of what you do is very similar, but the way you do it is quite different. The way that we look after members and attract and retain is a little bit, and of course you've got all the PTs separate thing altogether. So that's really exciting because you almost end up, I remember coming in and you guys might not recall, you might do, I spent time with Dan Q in Kirkstall. I was going out and about, spending days in gyms. Honestly, my pad was that thick. And no exaggeration, I think I referred back to that for at least 6, 7, 8, 9 months into this job. Absolutely. Because I picked up so much. And it's a bit like when, you know, look, our job sometimes is to make tough decisions. We have to make the decisions, which sometimes isn't easy. But again, when you've got a team of people around you, not just divisionally, but company-wide, that have been around, that have been in fitness, then, you know, your job is to empower them to help you understand their point of view, what they do, how they do it, and get that collective view. So all that for me was really exciting because it was a different kind of conversation, because it was fitness rather than retail.
Yeah, that decision-making point you've just made there is quite an interesting one, I think. How would you, for people that are listening that maybe might struggle to make clear decisions or are really torn between the logic and the emotion of making a decision, what sort of advice would you give them to enable them to get better at that decision-making if that's what's stopping them moving forwards maybe?
Yeah, so I think decisiveness is a really important skill and attribute to have. I think the reality is you have to make decisions in life regardless of the role that you carry out at work. The reality is that as you move into a bigger role from a point of view of work-wise, then your accountability grows. So you have to make more decisions. I think the way I make decisions is, number one, I always try and take my time. So and I've learnt this through the years, I will try and avoid making a decision there and then on the spot. Now, sometimes you are pushed into that, and if you're convinced it's right, you have to go with it because you are a decision maker. I will always try and step back, gather the facts, understand what, again, we're trying to achieve. So what the decision that we're making, what is it we are trying to achieve? Who is it going to affect? Who is it going to impact? Who are the key stakeholders? Who do I need to listen to help us, because it's a collective us, make that decision? So when we make a decision in the Northern Division, it's highly unlikely that Rich has made a decision in the North. Rich might have had an idea, but we will have gone out and spoke to regionals, clusters, GMs, and gone, here's what we think we're trying to do. What do you think? There's a couple of reasons why I would do that. First of all, I think making a mistake is okay, by the way. You learn by making, so that's okay. I think it depends on the size of the decision. If the decision affects everybody in the company, then of course you need to buy as much time as you can to make an informed, balanced decision, because that's a bigger impact. But I think my advice is look, it's really exciting to be able to make decisions. Think about what you're trying to achieve, first of all. Think about who can help you, give you the best chance of making the right decision. Think about the impact on people. Think about what you're trying to achieve. But also, if it goes wrong, what did you take from it? So if that decision doesn't quite work out, why? And there's another phrase, just wipe your mouth a little bit and move on. Almost like don't dwell on if you make a decision and it doesn't go quite right. Be open, be honest all the way through. I think clear communication with decision making is really important. And sometimes in the past, I've made them because, look, guys, I think this is where we're ending up. I think we're here. Right, okay, let's go with it. And we've got a collective decision. People feel empowered, they're involved, they're engaged. You've got a better chance then, if it doesn't quite go right, of moving track because people are moving with you. So I think, yeah, that will probably be, don't be afraid to make decisions. It's exciting. Listen to people, you know, take a risk and learn from decisions that go well and that don't go so well.
Yeah, so experience being a massive part of that. The interesting bit there, another one for me, is obviously getting people involved in that decision and whatever else, but then you've almost got to have the confidence at some point to say, right, yes, I've listened to you, I've listened to you, I've listened to you, your opinions, and maybe we've gone a couple of layers down, so we've listened to all of these guys, but then ultimately you're using that information to make an informed decision then, aren't you? Is that a confidence thing, or is that something that you've picked up from experience? Or
yeah, I think it's a bit of both, Dan, to be honest. I think probably in my early days of my career, certainly going into a regional manager, I'd probably tell a bit more. I think there's still a bit of a place for that sometimes. I think if we're being really honest, when we look to reopen our gyms, we're probably going to have to employ the tell method to certain, the world we live in's changed.
Yeah.
Cleanliness and safety is literally, people's lives are at stake without being melodramatic. So there's going to be a little bit more of, guys, you need to do this then thing. So I think that's just the reality. And that's back to that size of decision that you've got to make. But yeah, I've definitely learned as you've gone through. I think that the big lesson here is, if you've got to make a decision, get all the information that you can from the right people and involve the right people. Not everybody may agree with the final decision, but somebody has to make it. And I think there is a bit around confidence where you have to go, I've listened to everything, it's a balanced view, thank you, here's where we're heading, and here's why. And then I think there's a bit around clear review points as well when you make a decision, especially a big decision.
Yeah, definitely that. Because even then you might have to change direction again, hadn't you, if it's not quite worked out or whatever. So yeah, I think some really, really good points there, and it's been great to hear. Just a couple of extra ones really from me is, if anyone is aspiring to get to your position and wants to get to the role that you're in, what would be your key pieces of advice for people aspiring to that?
Yeah, so I've been really fortunate that I've worked with loads of great people that I've been able to take from. So I think one of the key things is, look, I do believe that anything is possible. I think that I've been lucky that I've worked with loads of great people that have afforded me the time and have taught me to be a bit more persistent about asking questions and learning and learning and learning. So I think one of the things for me is, anything genuinely is possible. Look, there can't be 300 divisional directors for the North. Yeah. There can only be one. So there's only one prime minister and only one seat. So they can't be, everybody can't do everything. But I think the first thing I would say is, don't limit what you can achieve, first of all. Be really clear about what it is you want to achieve in work and out of work, but let's talk about work. Be really clear what it is you actually want to achieve, and almost map a bit of a roadmap out about, well, how is it I can actually get there? Because actually, you might shoot for CEO and end up being a DD, or shoot for DD and end up being an RM. You still might progress your career, and you might find that that's a better fit and a better role. So I think having a bit of clarity about what you want to achieve is number one. I think you've got to go, right, that's my objective. I think when I was a bit younger, I did put timeframes on stuff. Right, by the time I was 30, I wanted to do that. Yeah. I've not done that as much now. I've almost got away from that. So I don't turn around and go, right, I want to be a CEO by the time I'm 50. My objective right now is I want to be the best divisional director for PureGym and my team. That's my sole objective, and I've still got work that I need to do to be that. So I definitely would say, look, there are no barriers, there are no limits. Figure out what you want to achieve, and then figure out how and who can help you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And the reality is, the bigger the role that you want at scale leadership, there are certain attributes that you need to be able to work with or work on. So of course you've got to be people focused, etc. You know, strong leadership skills, strong communication, collaboration, all that kind of stuff. So there's almost a little bit around being the best version of yourself. So remaining authentic. What does a clear learning plan look like for you? And take it one step at a time. You know, don't rush into it, because as you go through a development plan to aspire for a bigger role, you'll actually naturally grow anyway, and that will support you in your private life and work life as well. So for those guys that are out there that are listening that are from PureGym, look, if you want to be a regional manager of a DD, think about what it looks like for you and think about who can help you over the next few years. I think you'll find that people will be really welcome to support, because what happens, Dan, is we learn at the same time. So when people ask me for help, I go, brilliant. Because I'll try my best to help, but I will learn at the same time, because it's normally people doing a different role that is within my remit, if you like. So if I get going, Rich, have you got an hour? Which I've had. Have you got an hour? Cluster manager will say, Rich, have you got an hour? And I'll go, yeah, great, no problem. I'll ask them questions about how their role is going. So I'll learn a bit more about what that role looks like, how that's feeling. So that'll help me make my decisions.
I think it's really good that you said that, because me myself and probably most of the people listening will probably feel like if they ask questions, it'll look like they don't know. So and I think I went through that when I was younger. I did that a lot. I didn't ask questions because I didn't want anybody to think that I didn't know the answer to what I was asking a question for. And I think we've talked about it all on this call, is seeking to understand stuff and learning from other people. And no matter what level or where you are at, you're always going to learn something from somebody.
Oh, Martin, massively. And I think what's got to happen is, and look, I've been in environments before, you know, at a senior level where I've gone away from a meeting, gone, I should have asked the question there, but at that time I didn't feel comfortable. I'm fortunate I'm in a position now where I genuinely can go, guys, I just don't get it. I don't understand. Can somebody help me with that? And look, there'll be loads of businesses out there that are like that. I'm talking about the one that, you know, we're lucky enough to work in right now, and the role that I do. And I've had this at other businesses as well. But, you know, I feel really comfortable because of the environment that we've created over the last 10 years, where I'm able to go, guys, I just need a bit of help. I just need some help with this, because we've only got one brain. We've only got one. We need people to help us. And, you know, and one of the things that I want to do, and I know that people share the same view, specifically within the business that we're in now, is we want to create that environment, because it's actually okay to go, I need some help for loads of different reasons as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's massive, isn't it? Just being able to, I suppose it brings you into work every single day as well, thinking, I haven't got to put a front on, I can be open, I can be honest, and then that gets a better version of you dotting around the place.
Mate, massively. One thing that I've always said, I think I might have mentioned it earlier on the call, is that be authentic.
Yeah.
So be yourself. You talked about how do you move up the ladder. I think there's things that you can do as well. So if you are genuinely ready for a promotion and you are looking to be promoted and going for a bigger role, then I would say wear the hat for the role that you are going for. What that means is think like a regional manager if you're a cluster manager. If you're going for a divisional director role, think like a divisional director. But that doesn't mean change you. So don't start using different words because people will see through you, because they'll want you for you. And actually, you've got a better chance then of leading a team of people, supporting the team, if they see you as an authentic leader. And that is really powerful. Really powerful.
Massive, absolutely huge. And some really, really, really great takeaways there for everyone that's been tuning in and listening. So massive thank you for jumping on, Rich. We have got some more fun questions, shall we say, to wrap up and to ask you at the end. So we'll go with the first one, which is if you were to host a dinner party, you can have 3 guests, past or present. Who would they be? And I'm presuming there'll be a Manchester United dinner table covering it of some sort. So who would it be? Who would you go with?
George Best.
Good shout.
I've got to say Sir Alex, and I know it's quite a default one. He's a big inspiration to me. Look, I'm not saying his methods were right all the time, and he certainly wouldn't be right in maybe today's game. So probably those two. Do you know what? My third one, and apologies that they're all male, but the one that jumps into my mind is Winston Churchill.
Great shout. That was my shout. That was Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's loads of amazing people. I'm lucky enough to work with quite a few of them that already inspire me anyway. I mean, you know, my direct line manager and her line manager, two massive inspirations in my life, but I'm lucky enough to work with them regularly. But yeah, they'd be the three.
Why those three?
So George Best intrigues me. I think that he was probably one of the most naturally gifted players ever. He was up there, certainly in the top 5. I would just like to ask him loads of questions about why he did that and why he did that and how did it feel scoring 6 goals after being out all night and I think there'd be a lot of questions. He was a troubled soul. I say that very respectfully, but I am intrigued by him. And my dad saw him play, and my dad just said he was a complete and utter genius.
Wow.
Just a genius. Sir Alex, of course, growing up in Nottingham, supporting Man United, Forest were the better team at that time. We then got good after a few years. Like you guys, I think you're a big Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
And obviously we know Martin follows the other half of Manchester. It means a lot, you know, when we grow up like we do. Football's it's at the heart of what we do, and we're all missing it on TV right now, and hopefully it resumes safely. But Sir Alex had a big influence on, because that was a massive passion for me, and obviously when somebody turns around something that you love, and for those out there that love this sport, the rugby, the tennis, you'll know what that means. I mean, if you look around my office, it's full of Man United stuff all over the place. So, yeah, I just like to ask him a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Handle players like Eric and Beck and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were saying the other day, weren't we? You probably heard the story, the Lee Sharp story about when they were running in and Eric had done something on the field, whatever it was, and Ferguson had pulled him in and he was ripping strips off. I think it was Giggsy or whoever it was at the time, and then turned to Eric and he was completely different with him, isn't it? And that's that adaptability or whatever is going to be key.
And it's just that man management, I think, you know, and that's that man management aspect, if you want to call that phrase. It's just about, but I think what it is it means that sometimes you have to treat people a little bit differently. You have to be consistent, I think, but everybody reacts to different approaches. And I think, look, whether Eric had done something wrong or right is a different conversation. But that's Sir Alex, you know, changing and adapting his style, probably to get the same message across. Yeah.
And then Winston, the final one.
Yeah, I just look. I'm not political by any means. He's somebody that has intrigued me because, you know, right now the country is facing a crisis like the global is, and I wouldn't want to be in his position to make. I mean, some tough decisions need to be made. And I don't know. I just would like to sit him down and go, just help me understand how you felt when this happened and what drove you to do that and how did you feel when that. I just think he'd have some stories to tell, and the decisions that he was making with his cabinet at the time, you know, could have ended up this country being a bit different. So I think that whether you agree or disagree with what he did or didn't do, I think he would be a very interesting dinner guest. Yeah,
100%. Martin, do you want to go to the next one?
The next one is, you don't have to be able to cook it, but what 3 courses would you serve for those guests?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I like my Chinese food, but I like a nice curry as well. So do you know what, Martin? I'm probably gonna go with some kind of Indian starter, if you like, some kind of maybe shish kebabi type thing, maybe a bit of a selection, if you like. Of course, you'd have the poppadoms and the pickles there, so I think I'd do that. And then probably like a mild curry, I'd cook. I don't know, maybe like a boona or something like that.
What meat are you going for? What meat?
Chicken.
Chicken all day.
Chicken. So
No
quite
good
like
for you, that, is it, Mark?
Quite like a jalfrezi.
I don't eat chicken, me, mate, so I'd have to go lamb, I think.
See, I'm assuming that they're not vegetarian.
Yes.
If they were, then I would be able to do that. So I would position the dishes accordingly to their palate and their taste. But I think the Indian theme would be what I would go for. I think you can tailor that. And I think to finish, I think a sorbet of some sort to cleanse the palate, I think would be the one. So, and of course, Kingfisher or Cobra beer. Yeah. I think there's loads of great dishes, but I think I could have picked steak, but I'm going to go with that.
Good shout. Very, very good shout. Go on, mate.
Now go on, you ask it.
So if you were stranded on a desert island, you could take one album and one album only. What would it be and why?
That's a really good question. I think everybody knows that I like my dance music. So you know what? Loads of great musicians out there. I think I'd take a Avicii.
Good shout.
Compilation CD. So obviously Avicii's not with us anymore. I personally think he was one of the greatest DJs that we've ever had. I think the way that he mixed music is just incredible. He worked with some of the best musicians across the world. Brings a tear to my eye when I hear some of the music. I just think it's that powerful. Everyone's got their own choices and own preferences. But yeah, I wouldn't tire from listening to an Avicii CD on a desert island for loads of reasons. It would motivate me. It would help keep me calm as well. I think you can listen really deep into it. You give it a bit of that. You also go, oh my word, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could probably have a good time if you created a Wilson from Castaway as well. With the two of you, you'd be well away.
So this is what I'm thinking. A bit of a rave. Yeah, I think I've been lucky enough. I got friends that are DJs, and I had a bit of a go at it when I was a bit younger. I wasn't very good, but I admire, like loads of people, I admire the DJ. It's not easy to be able to work those kind of beats in together. And I think some of the music that Avicii made was just outstanding, very powerful, very touching, and yeah, that would be me.
Amazing, really, really good. So great again, massive thank you for jumping on with us. It's been great to have you on. I'm sure there's loads and loads of learnings for people that are listening to take away and implement in their day to day at whatever level that they are at. So for all of those listeners, if you do want to subscribe, if you click in the bottom corner, that will give you an update every single time we have an episode released. But other than that, Rich, again, massive thanks for joining us. Everyone have a great day, and we'll catch you all soon. See you later.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. Well done, guys. Appreciate it.